What is going on, YouTube? ModzvilleUSA here, back with another video. Today we've got something rather neat, rather nice, rather spicy, rather useful for you guys. And what we're going to be doing is upgrading an Aladdin mod chip for the original Xbox to be an Xblast OS mod chip with a 1MB flash chip instead of the stock 256, and what we'll have by the end of this is two separate banks from Xblast to write different BIOSes to. So we'll have a 512, so you can write something like the X2 BIOS, as well as 256, do something more standard, the IND BIOS, M8, CPLD BIOS, whatever it is you want. So you'll have two options. You'll also have access to Xblast OS. You can toggle, you can use it to test your RAM upgrade. All of that. Very nice alternative to like an open Xenium, where you want to have multiple BIOSes that you can boot into. Very nice. Very nice, and especially too, this solves the issue with the pretty much every Aladdin made in the past year that I've received. You can't write anything to it via software. Like if you go to update the BIOS with a new one, it'll just crash the Xbox. And from what I've gathered, that is because these SST 256 chips, I believe they're clones, I think is what I gathered, and it's the software. The Xbox software does not, there's like a mismatch with the ID, so it just shuts down. It won't allow it. You can get around that by popping this bad boy out, putting it in a hardware flasher like this, flashing the BIOS you want to it. But you're better off just replacing this with a 1MB, and then you can flash it from Xblast whenever you want. So yeah, this took quite a while to get figured out, and I would have never gotten this sorted if it wasn't for Cool, aka Chimeric Systems, absolute legend in the Xbox modding scene. Go follow him on Twitter. Go check out his shop. I'm sure if you're familiar with the Xbox modding scene, you know Cool. He's the man. But yeah, he helped me figure this out. And the first thing you're going to want to do, once you get all this, well, let's get over. I'm going to have everything linked that I'm using down below. This is a ISP download cable for Latice. We're going to modify that to feed 3.3 volts directly to the chip, so we don't need any external programmer or external power supply. We just wire it up and be good to go. This is my main hardware flasher. It is a TL866 Plus, very common, widely used flasher. Yeah, if you're gonna do projects like this, I'd recommend investing whatever it was, like $50. Have one of these bad boys on hand. And this guy we've modified, and we're only going to be using it to build these, or potentially something else that requires 3.3 volts. And I want to go ahead and show you the mod. I'll have the exact one linked, so should be relatively simple. Now I've gone ahead and hot glued these wires into position here, so let's see. Okay, I just sliced it with an X-Acto blade to get it open. Now hot gluing it, obviously don't do that until the end if you do it at all. Main reason I did it, only reason I did it, was because these wires are rather loose. If you don't, you're going to deal with them coming undone. here and there, and once it was just good, ready to go, working, I just glued it up just so I don't need to deal with you know, putting this in storage and this cable coming out. It's just wired the way I want it, and I don't want it moving. Okay, dude, so here's the mod. This is a voltage regulator. Outputs 3.3 volts. This one is the output, I think it's 5 in, 3 out. And this wire wraps around to the back, and it goes to the VCC pin right here. So that's essentially, if you have a board that's different, I'm going to link the one I bought, but I believe, you know, there's a couple different revisions here of these PCBs. So you'll want to plug it in, take your multimeter. If it's a different board, you're going to set it to 20 here on the voltage, and you'll poke around the regulator with it plugged into USB. You're going to look for 3.3 volts on a voltage regulator, like that guy there. Once you find 3.3, obviously unplug it, solder to that where you're getting 3.3 volts, and then tie that to the VCC pin. In case the pinout's different, you can check here. So there's the top with the cut in it. VCC is the middle away from that cut, so just figure out where that is if it's different. If you have the same board as me, you can copy it exactly, just like that. Middle pin on the voltage regulator tied to VCC. And I'll go over my biggest issue that I probably would have never gotten figured it out if it wasn't for Cool, was that so the way I had it, I was trying it powered externally. So I had everything hooked up except for the VCC cable, because I figured it's powered externally, that doesn't need to be connected. But I was mistaken. So if you're powering it externally, you're going to need to wire it to the 3.3 volt pad on the Aladdin, and then that source needs to split off and also go to the VCC input on this guy. So luckily with this mod, we don't need to worry about it. We're just going to tie the 3.3 volts that we're now pulling from VCC to the Aladdin and be done with it. It's just 6 wires. We can program it. So that's all there is to it there. Okay, next up, let's go over what's connected and what's not. So we've got these top 4 here. So TCK, TMS, TDI, TDO, ground, and VCC. That's what we're going to need connected. That's what we have connected, and we're good. We're good there. Also, I had to, for this, I lopped off the edges of this cable here and soldered the wire to resistor legs and insulated it, just to make it so you're not dealing with stranded wire over and over again will become troublesome. So we're going to avoid that. Next, you're going to need to get the software set up, and that is easier said than done. I want to have a link down below to ISPVM, and here we are on the desktop. I have a Windows 7 virtual machine set up. Okay, much better. So yeah, this is a Windows 7 32-bit virtual machine set up. You might be able to get it working in Windows 10. I could not. Highly recommend setting up a Windows 7 32-bit VM for something like this. You'll never know when you're going to need it, and it makes installing a driver enforced or just drivers that aren't signed, it makes it much easier to do. So yeah, you can try it in Windows 10 if you'd like. I did not have very good luck even after disabling driver signature enforcement. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this bad boy in. And here we are in Device Manager. Now, USB, there it is. If you need to manually install the drivers after you install ISPVM, it will be, browse my computer. You're going to want to, no, that's not right. Let's see. Should be in C drive, ISP tools, ISPVM system, and then you should be able to just scan that directory. And yeah, if it says anything besides Latice USB ISP Programmer, then that is incorrect. That's what it should say. I believe when I had it installed in Windows 10, it did not say ISP, and it was no good. So now we're going to wire up the Aladdin. So let's do that. Okay, so here's the diagram for the Aladdin, and we're just going to match that up. 3.3 volts is the VCC connection on the Latice Programmer, and other than that, everything is exactly the same. So let's wire it up. Okay, so here she is installed. This is the back side. There's the top side. Going to this bad boy. Ta-da. A little grimy with the glue. I know hot glue isn't the most aesthetic thing ever, but you know, I plan on doing a bunch of these, and I just don't want to have to deal with these constantly coming undone. So there you go. So I'm going to plug this bad boy in, and we're going to try to flash it. Okay, it's all plugged in. We'll boot up ISPVM system. Okay, and it opened up the last one. So I'm going to have this file down below, lpcmod.os support. Again, credit to Kakul for passing this one over, the .jed file. So under device we go to select, and then it's ISP Mach 4000, choose LC4032V, and hit OK. Then data file browse for that .jed file that will be linked below. Okay, everything's hooked up right, so we should be able to hit go. And there we go. Doesn't take long at all. Successful. Everything's gravy. Everything's good. No problem. It took me days to get this far. The 3.3 volt mod, and knowing that VCC actually needs to be hooked up was the killer there. I was going crazy. So that is done. So at this point, these JTAG wires can go. Okay. And once you desolder that, just make sure these are not bridged. So I'm just cleaning the tip here. And you can have some, you can use solder wick, use a bit of flux, whatever it is you want to use. Just make sure nothing is bridged. Okay, we're good. Now it's time to program this bad boy. So here is the whatever programmer you're using. I'm using the TL866, and we have a PLCC32 to DIP32 adapter. This came with my either this hardware flasher or another one that I own. So it was just chilling in my box when I needed it, which is very nice. I will link one of these as well in case you need one, your programmer doesn't have it, etc. But this is the programmer I'm using. Pop this bad boy in there. So let's load up the software. Okay, here we are in the XG Pro. So first thing I want to do is select IC, type in the 49LF08, find your chip, and it would be this guy, SST 49LF080A. Boom. Select. Now we're going to open a file. That file we want is the crcwell.bin from the latest Xblast OS. Load that up, and then one little change here. We'll change that first 0 to a C. Change the region to code memory. That is that. And we're just going to hit program. Now this is how the adapter should be in my programmer. Other programmers are different. In my top 30,000, placement of this is the other way, or at the bottom, but just see how it is in your programmer. And we got a pin detect error. So I take a thick sewing needle when this happens. Let's see, let's switch over. Where are my sewing needles? I can't find one. Got my tweezer here. So sometimes you can just like leverage it up a little bit. Let's try that. Still an error. Okay, I fully reseated it, and there it goes. Yeah, sometimes it can be a little wonky. Remove it, put it back, maybe don't push it all the way down. Just tinker with it until you get it to program. All right. That's pretty much all there is to it. The final step is pop this bad boy out. Okay. And then remove the original. Put it aside, throw it away, do what you want. Pop this bad boy in, and then we install it. And the main difference here between other Aladdin installs is with Xblast Aladdin, all you do is you install the pin header, Obviously, if it's a 1.6, you need the LPC rebuild. Put it in. You tie it. This is D0 right here, this bottom one. You solder that to D0 on your Xbox motherboard. Okay, so here we are. Modchips booted up. As you can see, we've got a 512 bank, a 256 bank, and we can boot into the original BIOS as well. So I've got Ethernet hooked up. I'm going to come in here to Flash menu. I'm going to program the 256. I'm going to go to Net Flash. Wait for the IP. 5044. I'm going to open that up in Firefox. Chrome has issues for me with that, so here we go. Desktop, that's the IP. And I want to flash SirBIOS 2.0.1. There it is. I'm going to name it SirBIOS. Upload in Flash. As you can see, it is doing its thing. Flashing successful. Press B. B, 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 B. Okay. And it is named SirBIOS. Very nice. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to boot it. And would you look at that? It's still working. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all there is to the video. I have, if you don't want to make these yourself, I have them for sale on my site, linked below, ModzvilleUSA.com. If you want these pre-assembled, limited quantities, and if you guys like them, I'll get more. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps some of you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Back and say what to do.